Throughout the 1980s, rallying has been dominated by four-wheel drive cars. The first was the Audi Quattro. However, despite its unparalleled success as a rally car, the Audi Quattro was in fact developed primarily for road use. Since then, Audi Volkswagen have introduced a range of four-wheel drive cars which are designed purely for on-road use. They're not intended for off-road driving. For one reason, they have limited ground clearance. Although there are exceptions, the Volkswagen Type 2 Synchro models have been specially adapted to cope with off-road conditions. But what advantages does a four-wheel drive car have for everyday use? Let's begin by looking at the principles of four-wheel drive. Many manufacturers have developed their own systems, but all share the same basic layout. The power from the engine can be transferred to the front and rear wheels at the same time. A means of allowing one wheel to rotate at a different speed to the other on the same axle is the differential. So a differential is required on the front and rear axles. It's also necessary to allow for a difference in speed between the front and rear axles, for example on braking, cornering, or acceleration. This can be achieved by a differential unit between the front and rear axles. Therefore, a front, center, and rear differential are required for a permanent four-wheel drive system as used by Audi. Other manufacturers' part-time selectable four-wheel drive systems do not employ a center differential. Basically, the two-wheel drive car becomes four-wheel drive once the two axles are joined by operating a locking device between the two differentials. This results in constant engaging and disengaging of the system to maintain control in varying road conditions. Unlike our permanent four-wheel drive system, its only benefit is for off-road or winter usage. But why is it an advantage to have all four wheels permanently powered? In the days of Roman roads, corners were a distinct rarity. Today, however, once we leave the intercity and urban motorways, corners and bends are frequent. With permanent four-wheel drive, the tyre traction capabilities are increased by 50% over a conventional two-wheel drive system when comparing both vehicles travelling at the same speed with the same tyres. The compound and condition of the tyre plays a major part in road holding, whether it's a two- or four-wheel driven vehicle. Let us assume that the road surface is good, dry, and we are using new tyres. The tyre has an area that can be calculated within which it will retain safe adhesion with the road surface. This calculation is based on the coefficient of friction between the road surface and the tyre. A circle can be drawn to show the area within which the tyre forces must not exceed to maintain traction. On a two-wheel drive car, the driving force is transmitted equally to both front or rear wheels only. The force exerted by cornering acts at 90 degrees to the tyre. The resultant force can be calculated by multiplying these two forces together and inserting the force vector. This line of force exceeds the maximum area of traction. The tyre will not continue to grip unless the forward force is reduced by deceleration. A four-wheel drive car, travelling at the same speed, divides this power between four wheels, so the forward force at each front or rear wheel is halved. Carrying out the same calculation as before, it can be seen that there's a reserve of power available before losing traction. We've mentioned that 100% of the engine power is transferred to one axle on a two-wheel drive car. Each road wheel will receive 50% of that power. If the road surface is affected, for example by wet or icy weather conditions or contaminated by diesel spillage, then this circle of traction will be reduced. Each axle on a four-wheel drive car receives 50% of the engine power and therefore 25% to each wheel. This reserve of power can ensure stability should the road conditions change. Cornering stability characteristics are also dependent upon where the power is put onto the road. On a front-wheel drive car, the rear wheels are pulled behind and do not apply any forward forces. The total forces on the rear wheels act towards the curved center point. The car understeers. The reverse occurs on a rear-wheel drive car. The front wheels have no forward forces applied, and so all forces on these tyres act toward the curved centre. The car oversteers. On a four-wheel drive car, the power is distributed to all four road wheels, dependent upon the traction speed of each tyre. Stability is maintained. Another area that is critical to road holding and handling performance is the correct alignment of all four road wheels, which can be adjusted at the rear as well as the front. The video series Tyre Wear and Suspension, Tyre Behaviour and Vehicle Handling, and Vehicle Alignment, numbers 11, 16 and 20 respectively, cover the many reasons and setting up procedures to optimise traction and reduction of tyre wear. Section 6 of Vehicle Alignment shows the use of the Unilux alignment equipment for checking and adjusting the rear geometry on four-wheel drive cars. The advantages of four-wheel drive can be lost if the rear tracking is not correct. The rear wheels being driven will lead to poor cornering and straight-line handling, causing tyre wear. The original Audi Quattro divides the engine power equally to both the front and rear axles 50-50 permanently. The ratios of the front and the rear differentials are the same. Power from the engine is transferred to both differentials via the gear train, central differential and prop shaft. All four wheels are driven when a gear is engaged. During cornering, the inner wheels, those on the side of